But yes, tomorrow is officially the 100th day of Donald Trump's first term, and you will be very pleased to hear it is going incredibly well.
The most successful 100 days in the history of our country.
Suck it, Jefferson! Suck it, Lincoln! Suck it, Roosevelt's squared! Trump's first 100 days, the most successful in American history. It would be like if America landed on the moon and killed bin Laden in the same mission. Thought you could hide on the moon, bin Laden? Get him, boys! Did you know people make that noise when they move on the moon? According to Trump, the most successful 100 days in the history of our country. Can anyone offer a counterpoint?
Chaos and confusion from Wall Street to Washington.
More than $6 trillion in market losses. Consumer confidence plummeting.
Outrage over Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency.
The showdown has legal scholars afraid that this might actually be a constitutional crisis.
Firestorm over the national security breach.
The Russia-Ukraine war raging on.
Just 39% of Americans approve of the way Trump is doing his job. Lower than any past president at the 100-day mark.
He has the lowest approval rating of any president in the past 80 years.
Suck it, Herbert Hoover! Donald Trump's ratings are 11 points underwater. He doesn't care. He's not afraid of being underwater because he's equipped with a flotation unit protective accessory, or FUPA. He has a FUPA. Look it up. Look up what a FUPA is. I had to be told what that is. But I hate to break the bad news to Donald Trump. His lowered approval rating triggers the Chuck Schumer fight instinct. You remember.
We're going to keep at it until he goes below 40.
Yes! He's below 40 now. You've got him right where you want him. Finish him, Schumer. Trump is going after free speech at universities. How will you destroy Trump now that he's below 40%?
So we sent him a very strong letter just the other day, asking 8 very strong questions.
Question 1. Why is this university different from all other universities? Wait, that's the wrong book. Hold on. So while we wait for those strongly worded questions to work their magic, let's take a look at why so many people might be unhappy with Trump's performance. It might have something to do with the gap between what Trump promised and what he's delivered. For instance, the economy.
America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly.
I think our economy is going to roar. I think our stock market's going to do great.
When I win the election, we will immediately begin a brand new Trump economic boom. It'll be a boom.
Unfortunately, I do think it's pretty clear that on the economy, Donald Trump did make a boom boom. A little boom boom. Oh, did Trump go boom boom? Perhaps Trump feels so positive because while the economy is headed south for most people, there have been some winners.
Donald Trump's net worth more than doubling.
President Trump's meme coin, worth about $2.5 billion.
Law firms committing about $1 billion worth of free legal work for the administration.
X reached a $10 million settlement with Donald Trump.
ABC having to agree to give $15 million to President Trump's library.
Meta's giving $25 million.
Amazon, Jeff Bezos, is paying $40 million to license a documentary about Melania Trump.
Free market. honestly, like, no, the guy's making billions and billions of dollars. But seriously, $40 million for a documentary about Melania Trump. No offense, I'm sure she's a very interesting person. But PBS made the entirety of the Ken Burns Civil War series for $3.5 million. Showa was $3 million. I think, obviously, they wanted $4 million, but they still got a good price. The entirety of the Planet Earth series, 11 episodes, was less than that, $25 million. And I know Melania is a mysterious and private woman, but I guarantee you don't have to wait outside her house for weeks at a time hoping to catch a rare nocturnal feeding on a striped South American toad. $40 million? So Trump is personally doing great in this economy. What about immigration? He made a lot of promises there, too.
We are going to start the largest mass deportation in the history of our country, and we are going to start with violent criminals. We're going to get people out that are criminals and horrible people. Hannibal Lecter is coming in, lots of them.
Lots of them. So many of them. It's like that Timothy Chalamet look-alike event. But for Hannibal Lecters. By the way, wouldn't massing a bunch of Hannibal Lecters around the border be a solution for immigration? There was a line here yesterday. Now it's just shoes and empty Chianti bottles. So are we taking out the Lecters? The worst of the worst?
Last week's deportations included 3 American children, all U.S. citizens. One of them is battling cancer.
Oh, my God. Are you what? That's who we're deporting? A kid with cancer? Trump really doesn't understand how the Make-A-Wish Foundation works, does he? The cancer kid is the one who gets the wish, Trump. Oh, I'm sorry. The audience will go with you on a lot. But there are certain moments where I feel their physical pain. So that's not working out. What about religion?
We ought to bring religion back into our country and let it get stronger and bigger and better, as I say.
Yes! Christianity! Bigger, longer, uncut. So I'm told. But fine. How's that promise going?
J.D. Vance was one of the last people to see Pope Francis alive, having a meeting with him the day before he died.
J.D. Vance, don't you understand how Make-A-Wish works? Oh. Jessica Diane Vance. What did you do to this man? This Pope had literally touched lepers. He drank sewage water in slums and survived all of it. 10 minutes. 10 minutes talking with J.D. Vance. And the Pope is like, God, check please. God, I can't do it. Get me out. I've been celibate 88 years. This is the longest 10 minutes of my life. Even areas that Trump promised slam dunk progress have abjectly failed.
I will settle the war in Ukraine.
I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other.
Woman! Why are you giving away the secret plan? That's the kind of top-secret classified strategy you only divulge on Signal group chats. I'll talk to one, I'll talk to the other. But clearly, wait. Clearly, 24 hours has passed and no end. So what happened?
President Trump now claiming he was exaggerating with his campaign promises to end the war in Ukraine on day one.
The president said, obviously people know that when I said that, it was said in jest.
I'm going to end the war in Ukraine on day one. Is this thing on? By the way, I'm a little shocked Trump couldn't get it done, given his Solomon-like peace plan.
Putin would maintain control of the territory he's taken since invading more than 3 years ago.
Crimea will stay with Russia.
The president said today the U.S. will make no security guarantees to Ukraine.
So let me just try and absorb the specifics of it. I'm just trying to. Russia, who invaded a sovereign nation, gets everything that they wanted, and in return, Ukraine gets to give it to them. I'm obviously not a master negotiator, but I think I could have delivered that plan. Here's the kicker. After saying to Russia, well, what if we divide it where you get everything? Putin just kept bombing. And Trump is now reduced from the world's greatest negotiator to, oh, come on.
President Trump called on Russia to stop missile strikes on Ukraine and made a rare personal rebuke of Putin, saying, Vladimir, stop.
Vladdy, stop. It's in all caps, Vladdy. The commander-in-chief of the world's most powerful army, with the nuclear briefcase on one side, the direct red phone to Moscow on the other, decided the best way to demonstrate the seriousness in which he took this heinous bombing was to open off-brand Twitter and all caps, stop. Concerned face, bicep, party hat, eggplant, skull, skull. And you'd be surprised to know that stop didn't work, because Vladimir Putin is not a golden doodle. He is apparently a furry. But maybe it's not fair to judge Trump's negotiating skills based on the Ukraine war. He didn't start that war. We all know Ukraine did, by wearing that province. You knew what you were doing, Ukraine, when you sashayed your pretty little Donbass all around the Black Sea. The real measure of Trump's first 100 days is the shrewdness he showed in the war he did start.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
Liberation Day! It was a devastating sneak attack launched from the Rose Garden. Fortunately, the country he snuck up on was ours.
Tariff chaos, markets in free fall.
Everybody kind of caught off guard, flat-footed on Wall Street and elsewhere.
Major retailers like Target and Walmart have warned shelves could go empty in a matter of weeks.
The bond market melting down overnight.
There's now a 60% chance of a worldwide recession.
There's chaos, there's uncertainty, no one knows what's going on.
Yes. And apparently plunging our nation into this dark economic abyss is all part of the plan.
Well, in game theory, it's called strategic uncertainty. So you're not going to tell the person on the other side of the negotiation where you're going to end up.
Right. But I'm pretty sure in game theory, you are supposed to tell the person on your side, where they're going to end up, so they don't freak the f*** out. Or maybe it's all bullshit. And Trump launched a trade war without any of the pre-planning and preparation that needed to be done. And Besant has to go along with it because he's in the service of an impulsive man baby that you have to lie to so he doesn't turn his virus of vindictiveness onto you. How did you not know that other countries weren't going to fight back? Did you miss that page in The Art of War? Spoiler alert, it's on page 1.
China's retaliation now includes suspending exports of rare earth minerals and magnets to the United States. Those materials are essential to a number of American industries, including car makers, aerospace manufacturers, and semiconductor producers.
China controls the refinement, the production of about 90% of the world's rare earth metals.
Elon Musk said that we're having problems with a magnet issue. The materials for the magnets for the robots come from China.
Oh my God, the robots have no magnets! How will they hang up children's drawings on refrigerators? They're magnetless. And we could have stockpiled magnets and rare earth materials, like Japan did in a spat with China. But why bother preparing for a war that you yourself are launching? And really, how important are magnets anyway?
Now, all I know about magnets is this. Give me a glass of water. Let me drop it on the magnets. That's the end of the magnets.
So we have the end of the magnets, the beginning of the magnets. Does it really matter? And we're in this position because we've been sold this idea of Trump as the master, the art of the deal. Only he can bring these nations to heel. It is all bullshit.
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass.
Trump told Time magazine that talks were underway and that Chinese President Xi Jinping had called him. China has shot back repeatedly, saying no, they are not talking.
The president said, I've made 200 deals. Time, you've made 200 deals? Trump, 100%.
100%? Bullshit. Here's how you know. 200 deals? There's only like 180 countries. Unless he's making a deal. It's true. You can't. Unless he's making a deal with Trinidad and Tobago separately. All right, Turks, you're settled. No, Caicos, not so fast. Back in the line, Caicos. Trump is not only not the best negotiator, he is maybe the worst negotiator. And it makes sense when you listen to him talking about how he thinks of our economic negotiations.
The president said this, I own the store and I set the prices. And I'll say, if you want to shop here, this is what you have to pay.
If you think of us as a big, beautiful department store before that business was destroyed by the internet.
Right! Why in God's name would you use a brick and mortar department store for your metaphor on our economic revitalization? I think of America as a Tower Records. I, the president, put the CDs on the rack and I priced them. If you want to listen to Bloodhound Gang, where else are you going to go? There's nowhere else to go. Or maybe that's just how capitalism works. The American president sets the prices and decides who's allowed to come into the store. And then other nations come back in 6 months and the whole country is a spirit Halloween. What is he doing? But his negotiating skills aren't the real danger to this country. What's going to us up is his obsession with the concept of the leverage that he has.
We have all the leverage if you know what you're doing. We do have leverage because we're the pot of gold. Using my leverage, and it's a tremendous leverage, and I used it before very well.
You don't have the leverage! That's the key misunderstanding here. Trump is so arrogant. He thinks the leverage is his. It's ours. We the people. And it took us 200. It's not your leverage. Why would you even think it is? It took the people 250 years of striving to live up to a constitutional republic and rule of law. Painstaking equity that you are squandering. That is the crux of American exceptionalism. You just want to make us great. That's a downgrade. Our brand is not strategic uncertainty. And you are not the keeper of our pot of gold. You are a temporary leprechaun. And the more enamored... The more enamored, President Trump, you are with your authoritarian whims, the more that you turn our shining city on a hill into just another ordinary, despot-led, sea-level shithole. So if I could just put this in negotiating terms you can understand, all caps, Donald.
It's Trump's 100th day, I think.
Tuesday will mark President Trump's 100th day in office.
President Trump's 100th day in office is coming up this Wednesday.
Tuesday is going to mark President Trump's 100th day.
Wednesday marks the 100th day.
On Wednesday of this week.
It's actually Tuesday.
Wednesday, April 30th.
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
If you count January 20th, his inauguration day, as day one, then tomorrow is day 100. It's simple math. You just look at the calendar and count days.
Oh my God! This is how divided we become under Trump. We can't even agree on how counting works. Apparently, Wednesday is now a partisan issue. I mean, it's hard to think of a better metaphor for how the first 100 days have gone. But here's one.
This morning, new questions about how a $70 million U.S. fighter jet fell off an aircraft carrier in the Red Sea, sinking to the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, no. America's doing great. We're doing great. Yeah, sure, some of our fighter jets are kamikazing themselves instead of serving under the Hegseth regime, but things are fine. I will say, you know who this is good for? The Little Mermaid. You know? Think of how excited she was when she found a fork. Now she's got an F-18 fighter jet. Legs, I got wings, baby. Woo! You're part of my world now, bitch. So, yeah, bit of a shock. But the good news is the military says the plane can be salvaged. They just need to get it out and plop it into a really big bowl of rice. Good as new. Okay, so that was a bit awkward. And to put an even bigger damper on Trump's 100-day celebration, our neighbor to the north celebrated last night in a very disrespectful way.
Taking on Trump and winning at the ballot box. Last night, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney and his Liberal Party winning re-election after a stunning turnaround.
Voters were swayed by U.S. tariffs and comments from President Trump about making Canada the 51st state.
I think who I voted for would be the best to take care of Trump, because Trump is, I'm sorry to say, an asshole.
What have we done? We've turned Canada's cutest nanas into foul-mouthed expletive machines. And I know, I'm sorry to say, he's an asshole doesn't sound bad to us, but in Canada, she's Cardi B. Cardi BC, British Columbia. But yes, thanks to Trump, the Liberal Party just pulled off a historic comeback, winning all the major Canadian demographics. Hockey moms, hockey dads, hockey non-binaries, hockey seniors, hockey players, and of course, hot Ryans. But the winner of all this anti-Trump energy was new Prime Minister Mark Carney. And his victory is all the more impressive when you see that he is not the most traditionally electric candidate.
A system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over. We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons.
But you're going to take it forward.
We have to look out for ourselves.
Wow. This lady was trying to be his hype man, and he's like, ma'am, please, this is a victory party. This is no place for excitement. I mean, was Mark Carney doing that the whole campaign? What do? Fight! No, quiet down. That was rhetorical. It's not what this is about. But look, let's step back for a minute, because here on the 100th day, it might be worth taking stock of where we are. Because right now, all the vibes are terrifying. Trump is overreaching, he's breaking rules, he's ignoring judges, he's collecting all the infinity stones, he convinced the Pope to do the eat a hot dog without chewing challenge. Rest in peace. You lost fair and square, Pope, sorry. But if there's one silver lining to this dictatorial 100 days, it's that when anyone pushes back, he folds like a Cybertruck in a fender bender. Like this. Look at what happened with his tariff policy. He's been hyping up tariffs for decades. It was the centerpiece of his campaign last year.
The most beautiful word in the entire dictionary of words is the word tariff. I love tariff. Tariff's more beautiful than love. Let's put God number one. Let's put religion number two. And then it's tariff. 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 My favorite word. Tariff.
Tariff! He says tariff like I'm trying to take a bone out of his mouth. Tariff! Tariff! It took less than a week of market turmoil, and suddenly Trump was like, backsies.
Tonight, the stunning about-face from President Trump.
People were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know?
Yippee! I mean, what kind of autocrat bails at yippee? Putin wasn't like, I was gonna annex Crimea, but then they gave me the stink eye, so das vidanya. Look, and tariffs are just the most famous example. He's been backtracking all over the place. Just for example, he unfired federal workers he had fired. He put back DEI web pages he had taken down. He uncanceled student visas that he canceled. He unnominated the attorney general he already nominated, and so on, and so on, and so on. At a certain point, you've got to ask, does Trump even want to be a dictator? Because I've never heard a dictator call backsies this much. And say what you want about Hitler, which is a sentence I immediately regret saying. But the guy stuck to his guns. It's Mein Kampf, not Mein Bad. But maybe my favorite recent example is when he started suggesting he would illegally fire Fed Chairman Jerome Powell.
The Trump administration is looking at possible ways to fire Jerome Powell.
The president blasted Powell, calling him a major loser and saying Powell's termination cannot come fast enough.
Okay, all right, wow. Now, when I first saw that, I thought, here we go. Some dictator shit's about to go down. But then, same old story. The markets got spooked, and then so did Trump.
You have no intention of firing Jerome Powell. Do you have any plans on doing it?
None whatsoever. Never did.
Never did. I love Jerome. I did say he's a major loser, but in a friendly way. Hey, my loser, you know, no hard R. I mean, it's good that he backtracked, but it does make it a little awkward that he already called him an incompetent loser. It's like hearing someone say, that guy is the worst, dumbest moron I have ever had the displeasure of knowing. My days are darker and sadder in their presence. Anyways, I do. Look, the point is this. The point is, Trump basically does the presidential version of posting a picture, then deleting it if it doesn't get enough likes. Which makes it all the more frustrating to see so many law firms and universities and companies bending the knee to Trump. They don't have to. Chances are, if you push back, he'll take it back. Either that, or he'll send you to El Salvador for a few years. But then you get a selfie with Kristi Noem, so it's worth it.
Trump's been in office for 100 days, or as he likes to call it, longer than any president in the history of the world. It should be a week of celebration, but tell that to the economy.
Economic alarm bells. The U.S. economy contracting by 0.3%.
The contraction in the economy, first that we have seen in years, in fact.
America's economy is shrinking.
Yes, the U.S. economy is undergoing what economists refer to as a George Costanza. Now, obviously, the economy is a complex interaction of multiple markets, so it's difficult to point to any one factor, but it's all Trump. It's Trump. It's Donald Trump. The fact is, Trump just does not do well with the GDP, unless GDP stands for get that pussy, which, sadly, those numbers are also down. Melania doesn't live there anymore. But even though it's all his fault, this is a great opportunity for him to be a leader, to speak from the heart to Americans who are about to suffer real financial hardships because of his policies.
You know, somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more.
Wow, wow, check out Mr. Rogers over here. I can't believe in a span of 100 days, we went from we will all be richer than we've ever imagined to everyone gets $2, all right? But if you're sad that playtime will soon be over for your children, take comfort that it's just beginning for the old commander-in-child.
The president came out swinging and dancing to celebrate 100 days in office.
Trump had so much fun tonight.
He had so much fun.
He seems like he's enjoying himself.
Clearly, he was having a good time.
And you can tell when he's on stage, he's having so much fun. He's dancing.
That famous YMCA dance.
It's dance time.
They've worked hard and had fun. Isn't that the pursuit of happiness?
No, Laura, it's not. We're not going to be eating cold beans huddled over a fire like, well, at least the president's happy. As long as he's backing that ass up, I think America's going to be A-okay. By the way, that was the first time I've seen Trump dancing from behind, and I gotta say, don't do that ever again. Don't do that. I owe the front butt an apology. Anyway, it's no surprise that the main story on Fox News is that Trump is live, laugh, loving being president. But as we all know, the American media is just as divided as the country itself. So depending on which cable news network you watch, Trump's first 100 days were either sick or sick.
At 100 days, Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president in the history of modern polling.
Voters across America are weighing in saying, yes, Trump, keep going.
Give me an assessment of Trump's first 100 days, 1 to 10.
A solid 2, nothing more.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 20.
Donald Trump deserves an F.
I would give President Trump an A, maybe even an A+.
Fear and pessimism.
Thrilled and excited.
A disaster.
It's awesome. 1,361 days to go of this journey.
Man, I wish we could have 10,000, more days with President Trump.
10,000 more days? That is 27 years. I can't still be talking about Trump when I'm in my late 40s. It's not that funny. But while cable news debated, Trump himself celebrated the big 100 by inviting ABC News reporter Terry Moran to the White House for an interview. And Trump kicked things off by asking the same thing every kid does when a guest comes to the house. Want to see my room?
Hello, everybody. How are you? This is the Oval Office. This is an amazing space. I've added a lot to the space in terms of beautification, in terms of modernization.
Modernization? This looks like my great-grandmother decorated the mantelpiece with her great-grandmother's ashes. And I know that beautification is in the eye of the beholdification, but we can all agree that the foam core Gulf of America map is pulling focus, right? Is the Gulf of America having a bridal shower in the banquet room of the Hilton Garden Inn? Because if it's not, get it out of here. But okay, you know what? Show me a few more things in your room, and then I gotta go join the grown-ups.
See, you have Ronald Reagan here, and you have Lincoln, you have Washington, but you look over here, that's Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine.
Why is he up there?
I think the Monroe Doctrine was pretty important, that was his claim to fame.
Trump is always in the I forgot to do the reading mode. Man, that Monroe Doctrine, so important. My favorite part, probably the doctrine. And doctrine, as we all know, is a female doctor. But you know what? We can't expect Trump to know anything about a president whose picture he put up. It's not fair. So let's give him something easier. Donald, tell us what the Declaration of Independence is. And remember, this is the document in which we declared independence.
Of course, you have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot, and it's something very special to our country.
Look at Terry Moran's face. He looks like a teacher about to call the school psychologist. This is a great drawing. Stay right here. But of course he'd make that face. Trump said that the Declaration of Independence meant unity. Unity is the opposite of independence. How did Trump find the one time that unity and love is the wrong answer? What makes this even more sad is that the Declaration of Independence is basically the colonies filing for divorce. It's the one thing Trump should absolutely recognize. And all of that was supposed to be the softball part of the interview. It wasn't until Moran pulled up his serious chair that the questions got hard.
Now we have this trade war with China that Moody's and other analysts say is going to cost American families thousands of more dollars per year. And there is a lot of concern out there. People are worried, even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it. I said all these things during my campaign. I said, you're going to have a transition period.
Really? That's what Trump said? Trump actually said that? Could we just check the tape on that?
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day
1,047. But first, prices will go so high you'll be sucking D for eggs.
Oh, yeah, my bad. I misremembered. But the wildest part of the interview by far was when it turned to Trump's deportation of Kilmar Garcia, who Trump says doesn't need due process because anyone can tell that Garcia is in the gang MS-13 just by looking at his tattoos.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute
Wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Okay. Let me just explain what's going on here. Garcia has tattoos on his hand, and someone labeled a photo of them trying to prove that they're actually a code. The problem is Trump thinks that the labels are part of the tattoo, and he is very, very insistent on it.
Let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop.
Do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop?
Here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir. I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS, as clear as you can be, not interpreted.
Now I understand why he's so proud of that Gulf of America poster. He thinks Gulf of America is actually written on top of the water. Makes sense. And what is so crazy is that Terry Moran kept trying to change topics, but Trump wouldn't let him. I have never seen an interview where a reporter catches a politician in a gotcha, and the politician is the one who says, stop trying to move on. I am not done embarrassing myself. But I will hand it to Terry Moran. He held his ground to the point where it actually wore Trump out. And that's when we saw a moment of vulnerability from Trump.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested. Ukraine.
Why don't you just say I'm right? Up is down, left is right, Santa's real. And that is Trump in a nutshell. I can't prove the insane things I believe, so just go along with them. Don't believe your eyes, believe the Photoshop. But I, for one, will not believe the Photoshop, okay? I will go into the rest of the term with my eyes wide open, staring and watching. Oh, God, no! Oh, my eyes, my beautificated eyes!
Tuesday was Donald Trump's 100th day in office, and he celebrated the only way he knows how, by getting together with the boys. Last night, the big party was at Channel 372 on your cable service, News Nation.
We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet.
Rock out with your out, huh? Which is actually how most of those people got fired from their previous jobs. So, this was an event where Donald Trump phoned in, probably from the bathroom, and a bunch of people got to ask questions, including Stephen A. Smith. And there's a thing I've noticed that happens at parties where there's only one black guy, which is that no matter what he's talking about, a certain type of white person tries to steer the conversation into an awkward direction.
Mr. President, thank you for your time. It's interesting that you brought up Harvard, because when people think about Harvard, what they're basically talking about is they're asking, what do you say to those who view your actions as an attack on academic freedom rather than a defense of fairness? What do you say to that?
Well, I say this. We had riots in Harlem, in Harlem.
Amazing. Amazing. Trump heard a black man say Harvard, and he thought he must have meant Harlem. What a beautiful mix of racism and dementia. It sounded like you asked about Social Security, but I'm going to assume you really asked about Soul Plane. No, not a great start, but maybe Donald Trump, maybe he can save it.
We had riots in Harlem, in Harlem, and frankly, if you look at what's gone on, and people from Harlem went up and they protested, Stephen, and they protested very strongly against Harvard.
No, he didn't save it. He didn't save it. What is he talking about exactly? There were no riots in Harlem. They definitely didn't go from the non-riots to protest Harvard, and none of that had anything to do with Stephen A.'s question about academic freedom. It's almost like he's talking about black stuff because Stephen A. Smith is black.
You know, I got a very high black vote. You know that. Very, very high black vote.
I'm starting to think that maybe Trump shouldn't be choosing the curriculum for the smartest college in the world. The answer was so dumbfounding that Stephen A., who is a professional interrupter, was left speechless for the first time in his life. By the way, this is not even the weirdest Stephen A. Smith moment from this week, because apparently the guy had a cameo on General Hospital a few days ago, and here's really the only moment you need to see.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm going to need to see some ID.
Of course.
God damn. Is that what happens when you don't have your ID? Man, things sure have changed. Now, we used to clap for nurses every day, and now we quick draw them with a silencer. I had no idea that Stephen A. Smith even acted in soap operas, but now I can't wait to tune in next week to find out if he has an evil twin, Stephen B. Smith. I guess I got to start watching General Hospital, or as Trump calls it, General Harlem. But let's move on, because not everyone is having fun during this celebration week.
We begin with breaking news. Sources are confirming to Fox News that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is out.
Waltz has been in a precarious position with the president after he accidentally added a reporter to a group chat about upcoming military strikes.
Damn. What a shame for Mike Waltz. I wonder how they delivered the news. That's ice cold. You know what? You can't jeopardize military missions by adding journalists to your group chats. And to Donald Trump's credit, he realizes he can't have a guy this incompetent working for his administration. He's got to go.
This is CNN Breaking News.
President Trump just announcing moments ago that he will be nominating his current national security advisor, Michael Waltz, to be the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations.
Yeah. Like I was saying, he's got to go to the United Nations to represent the entire country on a global stage. Congrats, Mike. You've earned it, I guess. Well, look, I don't know. This seems like pure chaos to me, but I'm sure this administration has been carefully planning the whole reorganization for days, as the State Department spokesperson will make clear here.
The president has just written on Truth Social that Mike Waltz is going to become the new U.S. ambassador to the United Nations.
Well, there you go.
The National Security
Fabulous.
Advisor. And in addition to that, he says that in the interim, Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as National Security Advisor while continuing his strong leadership at the State Department. Do you know how long he's going to be serving in both roles?
It is clear that I just heard this from you.
You know what? Why don't you come up here and I'll ask you some questions, okay? By the way, if it sounds crazy that Marco Rubio has 2 separate jobs, that's actually only half of his jobs.
Marco Rubio is very busy right now. Our own David Gura reminding us that he's right now Secretary of State, interim National Security Advisor, acting administrator of USAID, and also acting archivist for the United States. That's a lot of work. Those are a lot of jobs.
Yeah, and I don't know how you balance working 4 jobs all at the same time, but I'm going to guess it probably involves doing a shitty job. And he's actually working 5 jobs when you consider the hardest job of them all, which is being a father. Which reminds me. Honey, you're going to have to put the kids to bed tonight because I'm going to go get drunk at Dave & Buster's. But amazingly, Trump hasn't been firing administration officials all that much because partly, most of them have really learned a lesson about staying on his good side. Let me show you how bad it can get. 3 days ago, Pam Bondi was on Fox News making an outrageous claim about Trump's success stopping fentanyl deaths.
Since Donald Trump has been in office, DEA has seized over 21 million fentanyl pills. That's 21 million lives saved, in my opinion.
21 million people. 21 million people. Just for context, 70,000 people die from fentanyl in an entire year. But we're supposed to believe that in 3 months, Trump prevented 21 million fentanyl deaths. I guess a lot more people were planning to try fentanyl this year, huh? Were you guys? Because if everyone's doing it, I'll do it. I'm not a pussy. All right. This audience is pro-fentanyl. Now, to be fair to Bondi, she must have realized these numbers were way off because 2 days later, she corrected herself.
Since he's been in office, DEA has taken 22.2 million fentanyl pills off the streets. This is 119 million lives Donald Trump has saved since January. Pretty remarkable.
Oh, my God. 119 million? He saved 100 more million lives in 2 days? Wow. Keep in mind, the entire population of the United States is 340 million. So she's crediting Trump with saving the lives of 1/3 of the entire country. Pam, what are you talking about? Are you on the fence? Because you sound high as right now, okay? All right. But you know what? Bondi sobered up, she checked her math, and she realized something was off again. Because during Trump's cabinet meeting yesterday, she came back and corrected herself one more time.
President Trump, your DOJ agencies have seized more than 22 million fentanyl pills, which saved, are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives.
258! 258 million lives? What is happening here? At the rate Trump is saving lives, death will cease to exist by August. Man, you gotta love the way she turns to the camera like, are you ready for this, media? No, we weren't ready for that. We were not ready. There is no way anybody could ever have been ready for the number you were about to say. Even J.D. Vance wasn't ready. Look at his face when he hears her say that shit.
Are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives. Kids are dying every day.
I've never seen a man blink. What the f*** is this woman talking about? But of course he knows it's bullshit. He went to Yale, right? It's no Harlem University, but they know math. The point is, by the time we're done with the next 100 days, Trump will have saved, and are you ready for this, media? 347 bajillion lives.